Good afternoon, you guys. I'm Tricia Turner. It's time to rise and thrive. Rise like rise up, not wake up, right? This podcast used to be on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. ish. Shifted it to Mondays at 12 p.m. just last week for the first time because I've got this morning community that I formed, and it's going to kind of keep me laser focused on a morning routine that is not going to include time to do the podcast. And I think it's super important to bring this to you guys every week because number one, the real estate industry is always changing. Ever since COVID, we haven't seen anything really new. But this isn't just about real estate. This is about the four principles that are most important in my life. That is, of course, faith, family, finances, and fitness. And so we're going to come to you every week to bring you somebody that's killing it in all of them, one or two of them, or just having an amazing life. And we're going to share how they're doing it. Today's special guest is a very good friend of mine. I love him. He's been around for a long time in our industry. We're great friends, and you're going to learn a lot anytime you can be in a room with him. So please welcome Javier Tello to today. Hi, Javier.
Hi, Tricia. Thank you for having me over. Appreciate it.
Yep.
It was way overdue, right?
It's so overdue.
Yeah.
You guys, if y'all don't know Javier, Javier, give a little bit of your backstory, like where you are in the world, what you do for a living, and how long you've been doing it.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. Somebody told me, hey, you can write a book about all the crap that has happened to you. But anyways, just crossed, I can say since last century. I've been selling homes since last century, right? Cross 26
That sounds
years.
weird.
It sounds weird. It sounds like I'm really old, but
It
I'm
does.
not.
I
Right?
don't think you should say that.
Yeah, but anyway, that gives experience, right?
Yeah.
26 years in the business, and this is the best decision I made when I decided to leave the office corporate world, jump into real estate. It changed my life. It changed my family's life, and I know it changed the people around me that I've been able to help. And I just love what I do, and I think that's key on everything we do, right? It's all about doing giving with expecting nothing in return. So, but yeah, 26 years in the business, and just joined Real Estate of America. I, what is it, 3 days, 4 days? It's not even. It hasn't been a week, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I just, I don't like to move a lot. The last 6 years, I had to, but I'm hoping this is my last home.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
not hoping like this is. We got lots
this
to
is
do.
it. This is
Yeah,
it.
we're going to dig into that. You guys, like for one, 26 years in the industry. Javier's been taking care of his family. Javier, it hasn't always been easy for you. Like walk back. I know you've got some little obstacles, not little, big obstacles that you've had to overcome. And even in the beginning of your career, you had some pretty hard times. Kind of walk us through that beginning of your real estate career.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, nothing is easy. Especially, it wasn't easier for us who started when we had no technology, we have no social media, we have no, cell phone. I used to have a pager. There was no GPSs. There is no. We had the key map. A lot of different obstacles that we had that we have to overcome. But personally, it was hard the first 2 years in the business. I just didn't know what I was doing, and I just showed up to my office hoping that I could suck information from agents who were already top producers, somebody who were willing to open up and guide me through the process of becoming a real estate agent. But it wasn't easy. 2 years where I have to wait tables. My first year, I have to wait tables at night just so I can bring some money home. I bust my butt all through the week, and then at nights I went and waited table just so I can pick up some money. And perseverance, persistence. By the third year, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and then the light started getting brighter, 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 and it's been over 22 years where it's been the best thing in my life. So yeah.
So go back like 26 years when you were
Mhm.
in like those first 1, 2, 3 years of the industry, waiting tables at night, trying to just make it. What was a top producer's life like then? Like 10 homes a year? Think about
Well, I, it's hard for me to tell you the top producer mind of life when I started because they some of the top producers they didn't want to talk to you. At least in my experience, they were not willing to share their success on how they became successful. And I'll tell you, for instance, one, I'm not going to mention names, but um, I was on my third year in the business when I decided to join Remax, because Remax back then, it was the cream of the crop,
oh
right?
yeah.
I had no training, but I said I need to surround myself with people, highly productive people, so I can become one.
Yep.
And I joined this office, and there was a big fish at that office where I went and approached them. I said, "Hey, I would love to I take you out to lunch. I want to learn from you. If I can pick up your brain." And he turned around, and I'm not gonna say what he told me because I don't want to. This is a good podcast, not like mine, but which I don't have one. But he turned around and said, "Do you think that you know, will tell you how I became successful? No, you need to learn your own way." And he turned around and left. And I was speechless. I was speechless. He did this in front of the receptionist. And she turned around, came to me, gave me a hug, and said, "It's nothing personal. That's how he is with everybody." And it was a hard waking waking call, saying, "Wow, I thought that everybody was willing to share their success, or not everything, but at least give you some tips."
Yeah.
And long story short, I remember I told the receptionist, one day he's gonna come back to me, and that was 2000, beginning of 2002, probably. I'm not, as I said, I'm not gonna mention names, but in less than 2.5 years, he was my partner, and he asked me to become partners.
Huh.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy. You have to learn the hard way, right? And I don't know, I can share this. You tell me if I need to stop, but I one of the things that I learned early in my career is to do the basics. There was another agent at my office. She recently passed. I love her to death. She grabbed me, took me over, and said, "Hey, what is it that you're doing?" And what I wasn't doing the right things, but nobody taught me were the basics. Nobody told me anything about real estate. It's just what I learned at school, which was totally wrong, right?
Yes.
I shouldn't say that, but it wasn't. They don't prepare you
No.
to face reality, and that's a fact.
Mm-mm.
So she taught me about making calls, putting all my database together, people that I knew back then. As I said, we have pagers. It was a little harder to communicate with people, but that's pretty much, she taught me the basics of real estate, and my life changed. By the third year, it just changed.
So were you making calls back then, like live calls?
Hmm.
Okay.
And making live calls. And again, it was not cold calls. I was calling the people that I know, people, just letting them know, "Hey, Tricia, uh, this is Javier. I became a real estate agent, and you try to ask for business, and it's hard because we're not used to that.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to call somebody and say, "Hey, think of me whenever anyone trying thinking of buying or selling." It was hard, but it was harder not to do it because I didn't want to lose my house. My
Yeah.
wife was pregnant during that time, and she got laid off. So now we have no income, and I have no choice. I said, I either do it or do it or do it. Those are
Yeah.
my three choices, and I have to call people and just try to make this business a reality. Yeah.
Well, Javier, like 22, 21, 20 years ago, there weren't online leads you could really buy. So where were you finding business from to, sustain that, and then not just sustain, but like thrive and
Yeah.
take care of your family?
Yeah. Well, this is funny, and that's how life works sometimes in mysterious ways. I remember we were getting low in our savings, and I had I was budgeting my money for gas and lunch and everything because I just my money wasn't coming just a lot, or,
Yeah.
wasn't coming on every monthly basis. And then back then, somebody I somebody gave me the Chronic. No, what's the Chronicle? Is that the newspaper? The
Yes.
Houston Chronicle, right?
Holy
I don't even
crap.
remember. And somebody gave me that, and I opened it up, and I saw that there was a networking meeting in Kima, and it was $25 to get in. That gave you two tickets and some appetizers. And I said, wow, I was driving a big monster truck, and I said, I have to spend a lot of money to go to Kima. But I said, something drove me into that little ad, and I said, I need to go. So I told my wife, my poor thing was, she was way pregnant. I said, baby, I'm going to Kima. What are you doing? You're going to waste money. I said, I need to make money. That's why I need to go. So I got to this networking meeting, and there was this gentleman. I'm not going to mention names just for respect, but he was a Caucasian gentleman, tall in a suit, and he didn't speak English. He came to me and said, "Hey, do you speak Spanish?" I said, "Yes." And then he introduced himself, and I like to talk to everybody. And I said, "Oh my goodness, you just fooled me. You don't speak English, and you look like a white boy." That's what I said, right? And so we clicked, we connected, and funny how life works. One, I didn't have the money to go all the way there. Two, that was my first networking thing. I just needed to get out of my comfort zone and do something different. And I was gonna. His name is William. I'm not gonna say his last name. So I met William, and I told him, "Hey, you're a white boy. Can't speak English." And came to find out he was from Mexico City. He had just opened a mortgage company here in Houston, and he was trying to find real estate agents because he was getting leads from Mexico.
Wow.
So we laughed. We had a couple of drinks. He invited me over to his office the next day, and that was the beginning of my successful career. I started getting leads from him, like 4 or 5 a month. I couldn't handle the business. One of my good friends, who he's now a doctor, he was, you know, in medical school, and I said, "Dude, I'm gonna pay for your license. You need to get a license because I need help." So he became my first buyer's agent, and then my wife worked with me for a while, but that changed my whole career. I started getting business from him, and of course, with this other lady helping me on what to do, coaching me on what to do, and that's when I decided I needed to hire a coach to let me know what, because there was no, to your question, we couldn't buy leads. So
No.
I was just generating my own leads, meeting people, going to networking meetings. I went to breakfast meetings in Houston at 6 in the morning. I just wanted to meet people, and that's pretty much the basis of what we do.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Did you have your calendar, or like your schedule set at that time? Was that already something that you were doing?
Well, back then, I was. Now I can say that I master my calendar. I live through my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it does not exist. Back then, it was just a little notebook that I had. It was a little notebook where I had all my Monday. This is what I'm gonna do, and I learned more than 20 years ago that following that schedule, whether it was rudimentary, primitive method, it helped me to become who I am right now because I do everything time blocking. And that's one of the
Oh,
things
yeah.
that I teach my agents. You have to time block. And then within that time block, you need to know what to do within that time frame. So more than 20 years doing that, it just, I'm still learning. So you can never get better at it. You just have to get better every day, just 1%.
So when you think back of your 26-year career, and y'all, he's done really well and he continues to thrive and do amazing things. Do you see like anything that you're doing differently now versus what you did when you started selling a lot of homes?
Well, differently, I would say easier. It became easier with all the technology because back then, if I took a buyer, I was gonna take a buyer and showing homes. They did not have the access through HAR. Back then, if you remember, we had the real estate book and homes and land who were free, and that's how people knew about the listings. But
Yeah.
they didn't have access to the MLS like the public have now. And so I have to show you 20 homes in one weekend, and out of those 20 homes, you didn't like any one of them. And it took me 3 months before you could find the right one. The difference now is that most buyers, they know what they want. They already they have all these tools where they can search their homes on their own. And now, for instance, a couple days ago, on Saturday, I was on a listing appointment, and then I got a call from a total stranger. I didn't answer because I was on a listing appointment. And I got a text and says, Javier, there's this house that we want to see. So and so gave us your number, and that we would like to take a look at it. And after my appointment, I said, hey, I'm sorry, I was tied up. It was not that far away from where I was. So I managed, it was a vacant house, managed to schedule the appointment. Never met these people in my life, never ever seen them before. It was like 2 o'clock on Saturday when I met him. And by 3:30, I had him under contract, full price on that house. How easy it was. That's the
Crazy.
difference from 20 years ago to now.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you just and if you ask me, that's one of the biggest difference. Now we can schedule several buyers in one day, when in the past you couldn't do that in one weekend.
No.
You just it was very hard. It was almost impossible, in
Do
in my
you
opinion.
do you nowadays, being in this as long as you have, is most of your business referral repeat clients? Or are you still like prospecting? Are you still on the phones? Are you still working that business?
I would say that about 90% of my business is repeat and referral.
Okay.
The other 10% is people that I meet through networking. I still network with mostly with my SOI.
Okay.
I don't do I don't buy leads. I don't. Yes, I get new business, but it's usually through meeting with the people that I know. All of my calls are the people that are they these people who already know who I am, my past
Yeah.
clients, my friends, people that I meet. And one of the things to me is crucial. If I meet you today, I will send you a video text telling you, Tricia, it was great to meet you. So you can see my face again, and I'll make sure that I get your email address, I get everything, so I can be in front of you as much as I can
Yeah.
without being a pest. But yeah, most of my calls are to my sphere of influence, to the people that I meet. I'm always scheduling lunches, coffee, drinks, golf, you name it. Those are my kind of calls because I want to be in front of them. To me,
What's
that's
your thoughts about open houses?
I do let my agents I promote with my agents so they can do open houses.
Yeah.
But this is where I see wrong. Yesterday, my family was out of town yesterday, and they're coming back today. So I went to another listing appointment yesterday in Wood Creek, and on my way back, there were several open houses, and I stopped. Now I don't have my name on the shirts or anything. I just stopped. I'm casual, and there's this good looking sign, right? Good looking sign. They got his picture on it. I mean, yeah, I didn't know if it was an open house or that. All I could see was his picture, and on little tiny says open house. So I stopped because I'm in the business. I knew it was an open house.
Yeah.
So I come in, and that's his listing on the Cater Reserve. Nice listing. Came in, and I was disappointed. Of course, I'm not gonna say anything, but I was disappointed on the way he handled that open house. I came
Why?
in, and hi, how are you? He was trying to sell me the house. He was trying to tell me everything about the house, which is what they need to do, but not once show any interest on me. Maybe because I was not dressed. Well, I went to a listing appointment, but this guy worked, so maybe
Right.
he didn't take me seriously. But not once asked me about how what my plans were. And with my agents, to answer your questions, I prepare them. I'll make sure they know what to do, what to say, and what to ask whenever they go to an open house.
Yeah.
Most agents that he asked me, the only question he asked me is, are you working with a realtor? And I said, yes. And that was it. I shut him down. I almost told him, hey, why don't we reverse this? And instead of asking me, are you working with a realtor? Maybe you should ask, who is your realtor? Or what is
Yes.
your realtor's name? If
Yes.
I do have one, I'll tell you. And if I don't, I will hesitate. And that's when I tell my agents, that's it, they don't have an agent.
Yeah.
Now, sell yourself. Open houses is a great opportunity to gain new business. And I do encourage my agents to do open houses, but they have to train And it's sad how they just put them in, right in the open house, and they have no idea what
Yep.
kind of question to ask. And you just gotta think about it. But yeah, I do encourage open houses with my agents. Absolutely.
When you were at Remax for what, 19 years?
Yeah. Oh, almost 19. Yeah. Mhm.
Almost 19 years. You left, okay, while your time at Remax, you were a solo agent, then you started building a team, right?
Well, yeah, but there was a team during Remax for almost 15 years. And then
Okay.
I was a solo agent for the last three. And one of the reasons that I went solo because my kids were growing up and they were playing sports and I wanted to be with them. I didn't want to have the responsibility of having agents. I
Yeah.
just wanted to enjoy my kids sports. But then I put a small team together. This was in 2016 and 17. It grew to almost. It was a team, but also collaborating. And I had about 25 agents. And my broker, she came and said, "You can't do that," because she thought that I was putting the team with all the agents in our office. What I was doing, I was trying to teach him. I was trying
Yeah.
yeah. But at the end, I just cut it down to five agents who in 2018. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but we left Remax. We're forced to leave Remax. I didn't want to, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And we created our own company, which you know the name. I'm not going to mention names here.
Yep.
And we created our own company, and it was great, but it wasn't for me. I don't like to be enclosed in an office. I like to go out and meet people. And a year and a half later, in summer 19, that's when I decided to join EXP because you were there because that was the vibe. And but I left Remax because I needed to. Yeah.
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 And at that time, and I look at, I mean, and I remember like Remax was always like you said, that's the cream of the crop. Like that's where if you can get in a Remax office, like you are the crap, like you got it going on, right? But
Yeah.
now looking back on it, it's like it's such a old school model. It's the same old. When you then went independent, because we both have like similar stories, and we both went independent and had our own independent brokerages. And at the time, I'm certain that when you opened your own independent office, you thought again, like this is going to be it, right? And how
Absolutely.
quickly you realized it was not, right?
That's correct. And I always tell my kids and my agents that we learn more from our defeats than we learn from our winnings.
Yeah.
You have to fail. I always tell my kids and my agents, if you try 100 times, and you fail 100 times, I'm okay with that. When you have the talent and the capacity and you don't even try, that's a shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, we open up our own, and I was excited. I thought I was gonna be there. Okay, this is it. This is, and you learn, but you have to be able to recognize when something is not right. And I have no ego. It didn't work. I need to get out of there because it didn't fit with the vision that I have in the long term. And so I decided to leave, and my former partners took over my shares, and decided to come back, and EXP was the hottest thing back then, and let me jump on it, and it did not fit with my dreams. Just like Remax and my up brokerage, that those 3 years at ESP, I'm not gonna say they were wasted. No, I don't have any regrets. It was you didn't fit with the vision that I had
Yeah.
in the long term. Yeah. And
Would
then
you
of course
say
Compass
that?
came, and then
Yeah.
Compass came, right? And again, that's another total different story. I was approached at the same time when I was trying to decide between ESP or anywhere else. And yeah, I decided to give Compass a try. Great company. I won't say anything negative about it. I mean, it's a great company. But again, it didn't fit the dreams, the ideas, the vision that I have. And not just for me. In my dreams, my vision, I include the people around me,
Yeah.
my agents, my staff, but mostly my agents because I want them to succeed. I right now, what I tell my agents, I want them to become um, team leaders,
Yeah.
and I'm training them so they can become and they have their own team.
Yep.
And I'm friends with a lot of team leaders out there, some of the top ones, and I don't see them doing that. They're okay. This agent gets to a point where they produce becomes a top producer, and they're okay with letting him go.
Yeah.
No, why don't we just mold them? Yeah, let them create their own team. Like the reason I jump into Realty of America is because I have that opportunity to let them create their own team, keep them with the same company, and I can help them what they help me. I always say that if you help others pay their bills, your bills disappear.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you look at it though, Javier, okay, so and right nowadays with the market the way it's been for the last couple of years and ever since COVID, again, we haven't had anything close to normal. Coming from your all these years in real estate, your background, so you were at Remax, which is a completely different structure as far as splits, money, all of that stuff. Most Remax offices are run where you pay monthly dues, desk dues, whatever you want to call it, and you're on a split. Is that what your structure was when you were at Remax for 19 years?
Oh yeah, I was 100%. There was no split.
Okay.
And back then, if you were part of Remax, my mortgage back then it was like $675, and
Okay.
my monthly bill at Remax it was almost with everything that I paid, it was like three times the amount of my mortgage payment. So just
Yeah.
put it that way. But it was
Yeah.
okay. It was okay. People back then, uh, everybody, all the top producers, and Remax dominated the market. I got to say
Yep.
that, and
Oh,
and
for sure.
and I don't regret it. As I said, I was there, and it was a total different system. And then 2016, 17, 15, I met agents who were not on 100%. They were not paying the amount that I was paying, and they were in a split.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I didn't know it pretty much has
Yeah.
split. So now it's a total different model because they're trying to survive. I guess I'm not sure why, but yeah, it was I was on 100%, and it was a lot of money. Just
So
to
then you went from Remax, that model, to owning your own brokerage, which of course then you're at 100%. Do you find that when you had your own brokerage, now looking back on it, that was maybe one of the least profitable times for you?
100%.
Same.
Let me rephrase it. A billion percent. Yes. Yeah. Because
Why is that, Javier?
well, this is the misconception that most people have. And again, like I said earlier, I I I'm real I'm realistic.
Yeah.
I need to look at the numbers. If I'm okay being on the red the first years, 2 years, as long as we have a plan and we implement the plan and the plan is working.
Yeah.
But after a year, the plan is not working. The plan that you have that you wrote down is not even anywhere close of following it, then it's not going to be profitable.
Yes.
So, I'll be surprised that there's an agency out there that where they're really profitable.
Yes.
I Unless you have 100, 200 agents, and I can probably guarantee you they're still struggling because I know I
Yes.
did not receive a check. I
Yep.
was from my commission because I've been lucky that I still sell a lot, and from my commission I was funding the
Yep.
operation, and it just doesn't make any sense,
No,
right?
it's not what we're here for.
No, absolutely no.
So
So to me,
then
it was not worth it.
No. So then you go to from that to the EXP model, which was the first cloud-based brokerage, the first revenue share model, a whole different ball game.
Yes.
Walk us through that. Was that an adjustment? Did you like it? Did you understand it? Were you excited?
Well, yes, all the above, yes.
Okay.
When I first went to, I was a little confused because all the splits and the people call it a pyramid scheme, you name it, you called
Oh
it,
yeah.
right? And I went on my own. I left June 2019 on my own. The team, the people that I recruited for that company, I said, no, you guys stay behind. And I just went on my own. And I just knew that I needed to get another more team members. And by the end of the year, I was able to have a handful of agents on my team. And I as a company, I enjoy it because I was able to attract.
Yeah.
Let me. I'll make sure that I say attract, not
Yep.
recruit.
Yep.
I was able to attract a good group of people that came under me, and I saw that the system works because I was making money beside my commission.
Yeah.
I was generating profit sharing,
Yeah.
and while I was at my company, I didn't get one check,
No.
zero. I was cutting checks. Now, after 6 months, I said, "Oh my goodness, this works. All
Yeah.
I have to do is attract people and help them."
Yep.
And he kept growing, kept growing. So I know the system worked, but not for everybody. And
Yes.
this is where, and again, I don't want to say anything about anything, but I
Yep.
knew it wasn't for everybody because there were agents at EXP that had been at EXP for over a year, and there were new agents calling me, trying to get me to move to EXP. And when I
Yeah.
look at their production, they for once, if they were on their research, I'm already at EXP.
Right.
Two, they were new agents. They have
Yep.
not sold one house, and they were with the idea that if they just recruit people, they will have financial freedom. And
Yes.
that's the part that I did not personally. Again, this is my opinion. That's the part that I did not like
Yeah.
because in my team, I grew up the team up to 26 agents, and most of them were orphans, what I call orphans. There
Oh,
were people
yeah.
who at ESP who had no idea what they were doing,
Yep.
and I did my best to try to help them. And but again, the model is great, but I think it was, and again, they're probably doing great now. I mean, they're probably training people, but to me, it was just not. It was a little disconnection from agents trying to make profit share instead of selling homes.
Yeah. And
My
I
opinion.
think, like, looking back, that and now that we've been in it for all these years, I think that was, again, the first revenue share model. It was like, what is this? And there were so many unicorns out there that were growing a big, network
Yep.
that right along with them, and they were making a lot of money. And there was for a long time this mantra that was like, everyone's just a recruiter, and like you said, people were just calling everyone, trying to get everyone to join EXP, not even knowing how to sell homes. It's like, at the end of the day, as a real estate professional, your license that you go and take, and this oath that you go and take, is to work with buyers and sellers and investors and
Right.
the largest assets of their life. That is our job,
Absolutely.
especially in the market that we're in and have been continued to be in. And so I think, looking back on it now, I think EXP unfortunately had to weather that storm for, a long time. And there's some areas, of course, across the nation that still have that bad recruiter rap. But if you look at the way of the future, we're in 2025. I believe that the revenue share model, cloud-based brokerage, global brokerage, I believe that that is the way of the future. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And I applaud them because they were the first ones that jump into that model, and
Yeah.
that's great. But and it's like everything, you have to fail in different things so they can get better. So I'm hoping, and I'm almost positive that they are fixing their things, right? But it just I just didn't see myself going back. My mom used to say, "We humans are the only human species, or the only species, animal species, that make the same mistake twice." You know,
Yeah.
and again, I don't want to offend anybody because I have a lot of friends in on that they're at ESP,
Oh, yeah.
but I just didn't want to go back.
Yep.
I know they offer me opportunities to go back, and I respect them, but I just I rather try something different. And then when you presented this opportunity, it just made sense of what I want. Of the item is less complicated. Let's say that, right?
Yes.
And I'm gonna stop there. It's less complicated, and I can see the vision that I have in my head becoming a reality
Yeah.
based on this ROA. I call it ROA. I know most people call it ROA. I have no idea. To me, my ROA sounds better, like HEB and everything else, right? But I can see that this model working cloud based, but at the same time I think, in my opinion, the disconnection was that is everything cloud based. Go and learn on the cloud, and like
Yeah.
you and I talk, yes, that's true. You can go learn in the cloud, but the face to face interaction with people,
Yeah.
the being in a set where or in a classroom where I can teach them how to do things the right way instead of just going and see a little video or anything. No, I think it's important for us to be in front of people and teach them the basics, which nobody knows what the basics are. I can
No.
say the basics, and they might say, "Oh yeah, I need to make calls," and they think that's all. Well, there's more than making calls. If you master the basics, you can have a great living in this business for a long time. I truly
Well,
believe that.
I agree. But what I want us to also talk about too, though, Javier, is you were at EXP. You saw what you could do as far as building revenue share, which is another source of income on top of your transaction income, on top of your team. You then left EXP and you went to Compass. So EXP has a split model, and EXP, I think it's 80/20. But EXP has an annual cap, right? Which of
Right.
course you always hit because you do a lot of production. But then you went to a different model. You left EXP, you went to Compass, where there is also a split. There's no opportunity to build revenue share. So you lost that other income that you had once tasted, but then you also went to a model with no cap. How did you feel about all of that?
Well, I will answer your question, but I got to tell you this, right? People say, no, I'm not going to go one step back because it's against what I believe. In life, sometimes you have to step back so you can jump even higher.
Yeah.
So there were things that back in 2018, ideas that I had towards the team, towards the company, when we opened our own brokerage, I had these ideas that went through my mind of how can we make the agent's life better and easier instead of spending, you know, half a day putting a contract together. How can we make it easier? And Compass has an amazing software, amazing technology, and I knew that in order for me to get an idea, right, I wanted to see their systems, and this
Okay.
is them, and I cannot copy them because they have their system, they're great, but I wanted to see what am I missing. So
Yeah.
once I got into Compass, I the first few months I tried the software, everything, and right away I found out, well, this is not for me. And I was there for 3 years, and for almost 2.5 years, if not more, we did not use any other systems. But it gave me an idea of what to create on my own so we can have our own systems. And for the last 2.5 years, we were operating under Compass, running our own system. So when we made the transition last week, nothing stopped.
Yeah.
Nothing. Everything from our CRM to our transactions, everything. It was just a click of a button, and we are ROA.
Yep.
And that's one thing that, again, if they have a great system, I just didn't, not to answer your question. Yeah, I have to go one step back so I could create in my mind the systems that we needed to be able to be successful. And I'm glad. There's no regret. I met great people, Tricia. At that
Yeah.
office, I met great people. The new manager, I'm not gonna mention names. Oh, I love that guy. The people at that office, great people. It's just that it wasn't for me. It's nothing personal. It's just something that I needed to learn. We have our own systems, and it was, as I said, no regrets.
Well, doesn't it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it isn't the split at Compass, is it 80/20 also?
I can say that
Okay.
everybody is different,
Okay.
but no, it varies. Everybody, depending on your production and
Okay.
experience, varies. But I can. That's one thing that I
Okay.
can say no.
After being in the rev share model though, and then being at Compass, because you were there for 3 years without the rev share, did you ever feel like, wow, I'm missing this piece of business that really could help, especially in a market where sales are down?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, absolutely. Because, my first year at EXP, 6 months, not year, I, it was almost 60 grand that I made out of revenue
Yeah.
share. And then the second and third year, um, it went over six figures. So, yeah, it is,
Yeah.
it is a great, but at the same time, you
Yes.
got to think about this. Money is not everything if you're not fulfilling what your passion.
That's right.
And I know people that they're working the same company for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, making good money, but they're miserable.
Yep.
They're miserable. They're not having fun, and that's not what I want. I want to
No.
have fun. I want to have fun, and of course, make money while I have
Yep.
fun is the best thing. But yes, I missed it absolutely. So I can wait. I just couldn't wait to come on this side and start all over again. But I shared this with my team. I said, hey, I want to do it in a way where the benefit that I had at that other company, I want my agents to have the same experience. So,
Yeah.
so we can all do it together as a team. I'll make sure that our organization grows, at the same time,
Yep.
instead of me getting like 45, 60 people, and then my teammates only one or two.
Yeah.
I want my teammates to experience everything so we can stay together for a long time.
I
So,
love that because what you did was you got to taste what you're capable of. And now you just were like hitting the iceberg. You were just getting started. You were making more in that revenue share income than some people make in their entire year, period. And that was like a side thing for you.
right.
Then you went 3 years without it, knowing what you're capable of. Then Realty of America gets birthed, and like God has the perfect timing. So Realty America comes along in September 2024, and you and I have a conversation, and we have been talking about doing stuff together for years,
Right.
years, years, because we both train people like crazy. We both love to do events. We don't ask for anything from people. We're just give, give, give. And it's hard to find other people like us that really are truly genuine with that.
Agree. Yeah.
And now we have it, which
No, and
is
I'm
so cool.
excited. I can't wait. I know I hired someone to accommodate all my trainings and everything. And she said, "Oh, you got to do this." And whatever she asked me to do, I need to put it. I need to do it because I can't wait to share things that that can help new
Yeah.
agents and even seasonal. No, I won't say seasonal agents, but agents with experience that
Yeah.
they're not closing more than 15, 20 a year, then they're doing something wrong. Unless you're
Yeah.
just doing it part time and you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you are in this business 100%, you should be able to close 30, 40 transactions a year at least.
Yeah.
If you're closing less than that, then you're doing something wrong.
Do you find, Javier, because you talk to a lot of agents and you network a lot, do you find that most of the agents out there are not doing anywhere close to that?
Most of them.
Yep.
Yeah. I and I can pinpoint it, the medium number, but I will say 8, 10 transactions,
Yeah.
and they feel that they have reached the cuspid, the
Yep.
top. And when I said, "Oh, my best year, I closed 173, and in my bad year, I closed 97." So, what is the disconnection, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not bragging. It just, but I just trying to make them understand that there is no difference between them and me
No.
because we both have the same capacity, the intellectual. It's just how they manage their time. What are you doing with the time that we have? Because we have the same 24 hours.
We
What
do.
are you doing with that time frame that is giving me the opportunity to sell 5, 6 times more than the average agent? All it is. But people find it more important to go and have lunch with the other brand new agent. Or no, you just gotta have your priorities straight and say, this is
Yeah.
what I want, this is what I need to do. Once I get to do those, then let's play. Right.
When you look at our industry, and again, there was a data that came out last week. I was at a HAR event, and they showed data that here we are 6 months into 2025. right now, the data shows that 40% of real estate agents have not sold one single home in 2025. And if you remember the stats from 2024, we ended the year with 71% of the agents not selling any homes in 2024. So here we are halfway through the year, and 40% of them aren't selling any homes. What do
Right.
you think is the problem?
I think it'll go back to, like I said, to me, everything is the basics, right? When I was at your office, I shared that little story about Kobe Bryant,
Yep.
and that helped me a lot. You know, you gotta master the basics so you can become good.
Yeah.
And if you master the basics as a good agent, you can become a great agent.
Yep.
You keep doing the basics as a great agent, you can become a top producer. And it's the basics. And what are the basics? I can I I can go on and tell you the basics right now, but it is one of them is just making calls,
Yes.
getting appointments. People say, well, they think that an appointment has to be with a buyer or a seller. Well, that's wrong. You know, I I can have 20 to 25 appointments a week, and most of those, I'm not talking about real estate.
Yep.
You know, but those are appointments. People see my face and they see who I am. I make sure they know who I am because they know who I am, and I reiterate that I'm there for them. But if you if most agents think I'm going on an appointment is with a buyer, but whenever they go out and have friends or play golf with somebody, they don't see that as an appointment. Well, that's the
Yep.
biggest mistake they make. You know, I play golf every Friday, and guess what? I play with three different guys that can potentially give me business every Friday.
How long have you been doing that?
Oh my goodness. I have a happy hour that goes now for almost 17 years every other Friday. And sometimes it's five, sometimes it's 20. And I always said, bring somebody else. I always meet new people in those happy hours. And that's 6 appointments, depending on
Yeah.
how many showed up. But playing golf, it's years now, every Friday. My wife, she knows that, hey, I, I go to the office for a couple hours, have lunch with somebody, and then I go play golf
How much business do you think you've gotten from these golf appointments that you've had?
a lot.
Yep.
A lot. This appointment that I had yesterday, and it's they're selling and they're buying. It was through one of the gentlemen that I play golf with.
Yep.
Hey, my neighbor is thinking about selling their home, so I will give him your number.
Yes.
So they did call me, and I got the listing, and they're also buying. So combined, it's gonna be like a they're buying on the around 900 to a
Yeah.
million, and
Yeah.
I'm selling about 750. So that's you do the math.
Yep.
About
Add
playing
it
golf.
up. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
When you look at there, one of the things that I think the problem with real estate agents, they don't plan. They don't set goals. Number one, they don't know what it looks like. They don't build that like perfect life out. They don't even think about what do I want to do 10 years from now? What do I want to do 20 years from now? What do I want to do when I'm 80? Do I still want to be going on listing appointments? And if so, that's fine and dandy. But you and I have talked about that. It's like if your passion though is to really teach and train and bring people up, that's where you get your biggest reward because that's fulfilling. That feeds your soul. Walk us
absolutely.
through like where your vision is, Javier.
Well, I I got to go back when I was on my teen as a teenager. Um, Growing up, I being the youngest of six, I was the only one at home, and my mom used to cook for 12 people. And I didn't understand. I remember asking my mom more than once, why do you cook so much? It's only three of us, and whatever she cooked for lunch, that was dinner. I got it. There's six of us, right? Because
Okay.
we three for lunch and three for dinner.
Yeah.
She cooked massive amounts of food. And I remember coming home once and there was like eight dogs, stray dogs. And I knew the dogs because they were the homeless who live by the railroad station.
Okay.
And and I saw them in the back of the house. And I was, what are they doing? Well, my mom was feeding them. She had been feeding them for years. That every afternoon after we ate lunch, she put our separate, and they came and she fed him. They gave him a plate of whatever she cooked.
That's crazy.
And I remember I asked her, "What are you doing that for?" She says, "I don't know where you're gonna be in the future. And if you're ever hungry or your siblings are hungry, I want somebody to feed you. So therefore, I feed them." And to me, back then it didn't make any sense, right? But I now I see it. She could just not cook that much food and keep that money and save it,
Yeah.
but she was willing to give to total strangers because they were needing at that moment. For them, that was food. And I was on my teens. Forward the year 2000, when my mom passed, at the funeral, some of those homeless guys that were still alive, and they showed up. There were hundreds of people in my mom's funeral.
Oh,
And the eulogy, we couldn't give a eulogy because there were people giving testimonies of how she helped them,
wow.
how she just gave them guidance. And I said, that's what I need to do,
That's
you
beautiful.
know, because I tell people, right? I just said this to somebody who, I was having a one-on-one conversation last Thursday. And I said, imagine yourself walking into a ballroom. Tricia, you imagine yourself walking into a ballroom, and you can fit 800 people in that ballroom, and you see all your family there. You see your friends, your agent, all the people in your life. You see them there, and then also you look around the other side of the room, and you see people you have not seen in maybe 3 years, 5 years. Everybody in that room, you know, but in the middle of the room, there's a coffin. That's your coffin.
Mm,
You walk in there, and that's you. That's you. My question is, if that were you today, how would they remember you?
yes.
Right?
Yep.
How would they remember you? What is it that you will leave behind that they will say, "Oh, she really helped me"? Your family will love you. Most people, 3 hours after the funeral, they'll be thinking, "What do we want to watch on Netflix? Are we going to the movies? What are we
Yeah.
going to eat?" They move on. But what is it that we can leave behind beyond your body, beyond your essence, where people can think of you 15 years, 20 years from now, like I did with the lady that I just passed from, she was at Remax.
Yeah.
Did I think about it often? No. But whenever I go back and remember my struggles, she comes to mind because she said, this is what you need to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that little seed that she planted on me gave gave my family a great life.
Yep.
You know, and those are the things that I said, that's my vision.
Yep.
How can I help you get to where we are, even further, even higher? The
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
It is.
Without you looking back and say, "Oh, that was Javier." Now it's all your job. It's everything, all your hard work. You won't see my name anywhere. It's everything you, but you got to do the right thing. And then maybe in the future you'll say, "You know what? Let me teach somebody else the way Javier taught me," and that's more powerful than anything else.
I love that. That is beautiful about your mom. Oh my gosh. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. That's super cool. I'm guessing as we come here to the close on the top of our hour that your vision, because you guys, he does still run a team and they sell a crap ton of homes, but is your goal to grow your team, Javier?
Yes.
Okay.
My goal is to grow the team. Yes. I would like to have, because I know how much help we need.
Yeah.
But again, my goal is to, yes, grow the team. Maybe not as I know teams that have 50, 60 people, and most of them are neglected, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
I want to grow the team where everybody, like the team members that I have right now, but one, I know they're ready to coach somebody else,
Yep.
and that's how I want to work my team. If,
Yes.
if I can bring 3, 4, 5 more, then I can prepare them so they can prepare 5 more, and
Yes.
so on and so on. Instead of growing, having 40 agents and then 30 leave every 30 days because they're not producing, that's not what I want. But
No.
yes, my idea is to grow the team in a way that it'll be sustainable.
And grow each other, which I freaking
Absolutely.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you guys, Javier and his company, the Tello Group, have moved over to Realty of America with us. And if you haven't been paying attention to that, it's a company that just launched September 13th. Mark Demas, who's a native Houstonian, a dear friend, is the president of the company, and Eddie Garcia is the founder. And he had Realty of Chicago, basically owned Chicago. So those two came together and they've built this foundation of producers across the United States. We're in 13 states right now. In Texas alone, or in Houston alone, we're over 400 agents in HAR. But as a company, we're at about 2,400 agents right now. So we definitely are the fastest growing real estate company, outpaced EXP, Real, all of them out there. Why is that? Because the foundation was built on good, solid people that are still in the trenches, still selling homes, still training others, doing it together collaboratively. And it's super freaking cool. We have offices scattered about. That's not just a cloud-based thing, but there's actual physical offices, which is very cool. And of course, it's very affordable because it's 85-15 split, and there's a 14,000 annual cap. So it's something that is sustainable. We will be publicly traded, just not yet. And it is a revenue share company as well, because again, that is the way of the future. And that's what we're going to do is our goal, Javier and I, of course, together to help build the greatest real estate company in America. Right, Javier?
Absolutely. I'm all on board.
We're going to do
Yep.
it too. I'm
Yep.
excited. Javier, how can people find you to learn more about how to get a hold of you?
Oh, shoot. Easiest way is I'm not afraid to give my cell phone number.
Okay.
It's 832-549-1701, or my email, jtello@tellogroup.com. That easy.
That is, you guys. And he's all over the place. He's constantly giving, he's networking all the time. So you will see him and follow him on social, reach out to him and find out why. Why did he leave EXP and go to Compass? Why did he go from Compass and join us? And what is his long-term goals? Because he's got great ones. Javier, thank you so much for doing this today.
No, thank you, Tricia. Appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'll see you soon.
You
Appreciate
will.
it.
Yep. Let's rise and thrive together, you guys. Y'all
Yep.
have an awesome day. Bye,
Yep.
y'all.
Ciao. Bye.